Chapter 51 Netherworld Sophora Japonica Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Early the next morning, Chen Xingzhen pushed open the door and walked out. At this moment, Chen Xingzhen's eyes were red. It was obvious that he had not slept all night, but he was full of energy, especially when he saw the combat skill, Taizu Chang Fist, that he had copied in his hand. He felt even more happy. He was originally worried that he would not be able to remember this vast knowledge of combat skills, but later he discovered that the combat skills seemed to have been integrated into his mind and could not be forgotten. However, for the sake of the future of his family, he still burned the midnight oil. And finally copied it, just when Chen Xingzhen was about to summon Chen Tianyu and several blood coagulation realm warriors to teach them their combat skills. He saw Chen Qingyu walking towards him. "Qingyu, you're here at the right time. Quickly take this combat skill and learn it." "Huh? The family also has combat skills." Chen Qingyu, who was about to tell Chen Xingzhen what happened last night, was stunned when he heard this. The next moment, Chen Xingzhen put the combat skills in Chen Qingyu's hands and said with joy, "This combat skill was taught to me by the sacred tree last night. It will be of great benefit to the family. After you learn it, you can give this combat skill to your second uncle and the others and ask them to copy a few copies and pass them on to other clan members. This combat skill is of great importance. Currently it can only be taught to family warriors. After the teaching is completed, it must be handed over uniformly and cannot be passed on to others." Chen Xingzhen was talking to himself, but he didn't notice the slight change in Chen Qingyu's face after flipping through the combat skills in his hands. This is obviously the Taizu Chang Fist he got last night. If you think about it carefully, it is extremely reasonable. Since the sacred tree passed down the combat skills to him, how could he not pass it on to the clan leader? This made Chen Qingyu, who originally wanted to tell Chen Xingzhen about his combat skills, change his previous thoughts. After he told him, wouldn't it mean that he would reveal that he secretly entered the ancestral hall last night? Although this is not a big deal, even with his status in the clan, he can report it to the clan leader, and then swagger into the ancestral hall to worship his father. But as a genius in his family, he didn't want to expose his weaknesses to others, even members of his family. Good. Chen Qingyu didn't say anything more, turned around and left with her combat skills. Behind him, Chen Xingzhen sighed as he watched Chen Qingyu's leaving figure. Qingyu is a child with extremely high talent. Although his personality is a little impulsive, he is also devoted to his family. However, because his parents died in his early years, his personality is more aloof than others. He could also guess the people in the ancestral hall last night. Similarly, he also understood why Chen Qingyu went in, but he had no intention of exposing Chen Qingyu. As the clan leader, he knows everyone in the family. Behind Chen Qingyu's seemingly aloofness, he actually hides a heart that is more fragile than others. It's a pity that even as the clan leader, he can't help his clan members much. In this regard, he can only do his little bit to give his clansmen a place to live and make the family the last harbor in the hearts of every clansman. Combat skills. Or high-grade yellow-level combat skills. Haha, great. Quick, let me see. That when Taizu's Changquan was introduced to the family's warriors, it caused quite a stir in the clan. Many tribesmen circulated it, wanting to get a glimpse of the mystery of this yellow-level combat skill. Not long after, the Patriarch Chen Xingzhen personally spoke out. The top 3 tribesmen who understand Taizu Changquan will receive rewards from the tribe at the end of the year. As for the prize, it is the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts in the blood coagulation realm. The tribesmen who heard the news were extremely enthusiastic. Although the family would distribute the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts every year according to the tribe's realm or merit, no one would have too much of something that could temper the body and condense the blood. For a time, all the warriors in the clan were practicing Taizu Changquan, hoping to be one step ahead and become the first person in the clan to learn Taizu Changquan. Chen Qingyu did not participate. Although he was not of high seniority, his level was already the highest except for the clan leader. Participating at the late stage of blood coagulation realm would inevitably discourage the enthusiasm of the clan members. Of course, the most important thing is that he has understood it. Moreover, the family still has a lot to do and cannot spend all their time learning combat skills. Even teenagers like Chen Qinghe and Chen Qingmeng have to plant blood rice in the spiritual fields. However, the planting methods of the two are somewhat different. Upon closer inspection, it is not difficult to tell that the two planted according to the operation method of Taizu Changquan. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang felt a little happier as he listened to the excited shouts of many clan members. It seems that this yellow-level high-grade combat skill has been of great help to the family. It is a pity that he did not stay in the Netherworld for a short time, otherwise he might be able to learn more combat skills from those living souls. But then some doubts arose in Ji Yang's mind. Since this combat skill can be understood by oneself, it means that this combat skill and the living soul really exist. So is there really a Netherworld in this world? What is the Netherworld for? There are many doubts in Ji Yang's mind, but unfortunately his current vision is not enough to know the reasons. Ji Yang ignored it and turned to look at the many gray fruits on his branches. Today is the 6th day for these fruits to grow. However, the appearance of the fruits is not much different from yesterday, but the color gradually changes from white to gray. It is estimated that one day, these ginkgo fruits will be completely ripe. After enduring it for several days, it was finally coming to an end. In the past few days, he had been unable to make ends meet with the vitality he gained from absorbing the moonlight every day. Ji Yang opened the panel and checked his current attributes. Name, Ji Yang. Race, Netherworld Sophora japonica. Life force, 16. Magic power, Eye of insight, reversal of Danqing, blindness, soul condensation, armor cover. Skills, Eclipse, Gathering Yin. Combat skills, Taizu Changquan, can be passed on once. Blood, 54, can be converted into life force. Spiritual power, 11. Deduction points, 0. Cannot be deduced. Status, you have been using the Gathering Yin skill for a long time, and your race has changed, but it doesn't matter, you are still weak. The family has been busy hunting these days and has not yet offered sacrifices. Even if Ji Yang can absorb the moonlight, the consumption of these white fruits is greater, resulting in Ji Yang only having 16 points of life force left. However, when Ji Yang noticed his sudden change of race, he was shocked. How did he become a Netherworld Sophora japonica? When Ji Yang saw the status column, he realized that it was because of the skills. Although the new race sounds much better than the previous one, Ji Yang still likes his green self, because it represents the vigorous vitality. Ji Yang tried to stop the yin gathering technique. After stopping the technique, Ji Yang's originally black trunk gradually turned back to brown, and the leaves on the branches gradually turned from black to green. Chapter 52 Night Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Isn't that okay? Ji Yang thought to himself. But then he realized something was wrong, because halfway through the changes, they suddenly stopped. Moreover, there was no obvious change in his vision. The sparse yin chi around him still existed, and this time he could absorb it even without using the yin gathering technique. Now Ji Yang's trunks and branches are twinned in two colors, half brown and half black. Not only the trunk, but also the locust leaves on the tree are the same, except that half of them are dark green and the other half are black, making them look even more monstrous, with a hint of weirdness in them. Looking at his flashy self, Ji Yang was speechless and choked, but regardless of appearance, he must have become stronger now, because he felt that whether it was branches or underground roots, he was stronger, and he can see the living soul and absorb yin chi without running the technique. That's it. Ji Yang no longer struggled, and then looked at the conditions required for his deduction. Considering that family sacrifices are quite difficult, Ji Yang is not in a hurry to convert his energy and blood, and there is still some spiritual power left, but the deduction points are not increasing at all. It was only because in the past few days, the clan members were busy with other things and no one was practicing, which resulted in Ji Yang's deduction points not improving at all. Without enough deduction points, he cannot deduce, let alone multiple deductions. If this continues, how can he improve himself? After all, the current Chen family is still sparsely populated. If there were more members, the situation would be better. It's a pity that he can't communicate with Chen Xingzhen. If it didn't work, Ji Yang decided to extend his roots and write and communicate with Chen Xingzhen, but in this way, the reputation of his family's sacred tree seems to be somewhat unsafe. In addition, Ji Yang felt that the roots he had strengthened before seemed to be a little out of order. It took 0.5 of his vitality to strengthen before, but then his vitality increased, and the underground roots also grew. Perhaps it was because the newly grown roots had not been strengthened, which caused the control to fail. This means that he has to strengthen it again, but now that the family is stable, he doesn't need it for the time being. He can strengthen it when needed. The night is getting darker and the bright moon is in the sky, but at the other end of the unknown secret passage, a figure slowly moved the huge bluestone in front of it. This man is none other than Li Kailiang, the only late-stage blood coagulation realm warrior in the Li family. After practicing for a day, he is now in good condition. After moving the huge bluestone away, he did not act in a hurry. Instead, he placed the flesh and blood of the ferocious beast that he had prepared near the entrance of the secret passage. The smell of blood will definitely attract vicious beasts. Moreover, he also put something special into the flesh and blood of these ferocious beasts, which was time that could make the ferocious beasts excited and violent. After being specially refined, this herb can attract all the ferocious beasts from hundreds of miles away. Although it is a bit exaggerated, the effect is extremely good. This was developed by the family's pharmacist. It belongs exclusively to his Li family and is usually used for hunting. There are two reasons why Li Kailiang did this. If he escapes after destroying the sacred tree, these ferocious beasts will become an obstacle to the Qin family's pursuit of him. If he fails, unfortunately, the ferocious beasts attracted by these flesh and blood will also follow this secret passage deep, thus causing certain trouble to the Qin family. After arranging everything, Li Kailiang did not act in a hurry. Instead, he looked into the distance and said to himself, "I think Yongcheng and the others have gone far away now." This was also the reason why he waited for a whole day. Even if he failed, it would not affect other tribesmen. There wasn't much time left for him, so it was time to take action. Li Kailiang's eyes showed a hint of determination, and he quickly walked towards the Qin family ancestral hall at the other end of the secret passage. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang was silently absorbing the moonlight, making up for the shortfall caused by the ginkgo trees. When he was bored, Ji Yang used the underground roots to sense the surrounding situation, and listen to the conversations of the patrolling tribesmen from time to time. Although it is still boring, this is Ji Yang's only fun now. Just as Ji Yang was listening intently to the conversation between the two tribesmen, he suddenly noticed an unusual vibration from a root. This vibration did not come from other places, but from the roots that extended to the bottom of the family's secret passage. This made Ji Yang doubtful. If he remembered correctly, the family's secret passage had been closed after the Li family was eliminated, and no one from the clan had entered it since. So where did this vibration come from? Could it be that the ferocious beast at the other end of the secret passage found the exit and came along the secret passage? No, Qin Qingyu would definitely not be so careless when he returned from hunting last time. Ji Yang moved most of his consciousness to the root and quickly saw clearly what was going on in the secret passage. In the dark entrance of the cave, a figure was cautiously approaching the ancestral hall. When the figure saw the fracture in front of him, his face was filled with joy, but when Ji Yang saw the visitor, his heart suddenly stopped. He remembered this person, the late-stage blood coagulation realm warrior from the Li family. Although he didn't know his name, this person was extremely troublesome during the battle that day. Now that this person has come through the secret passage, he must be up to no good. Ji Yang wanted to call on his tribe to respond to the enemy, but then found that he couldn't do it. Although there are two clansmen patrolling outside the ancestral hall, they are only at the middle stage of body tempering. How can they be his opponent? And Ji Yang had reason to suspect that this man was coming for him. As the crisis approached, Ji Yang's heart condensed, and he no longer hesitated. He quickly began to strengthen his roots, and at the same time did not forget to disperse the lunar eclipse technique. He had little vitality, and wanted to keep this vitality for other things, but he never thought of this accident. Just as Ji Yang strengthened his roots, Li Kailiang had already moved the bluestone slab above his head and jumped out of the secret passage below. As a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation, he had just sensed in the secret passage that there were no traces of other warriors nearby. Li Kailiang, who left the secret passage, looked around, and his face was even more happy. This is the Qin family ancestral hall. Where is the sacred tree? Where is the sacred tree? Hearing the footsteps coming from not far away, Li Kailiang felt urgent in his heart, and his eyes were scattered, looking for the Qin family's sacred tree. Soon, he saw the so-called sacred tree in a corner of the ancestral hall. This sacred tree is only about 2 meters high, and its sparse branches and leaves make it look unremarkable. If he is not a warrior in the blood coagulation realm, it is not easy to see it in the dark. Is this the sacred tree? Although he had seen it from a distance during the previous family war, he still had doubts in his heart when he looked back. However, there are no other trees in this ancestral hall, so it is obviously not wrong. Li Kailiang showed his murderous intent, and no longer hesitated. He gathered his blood and energy in his hands and ran towards the sacred tree not far away. Chapter 53 Solution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He had to destroy the sacred tree before the Chen family found him, and then leave through the secret passage. The distance from the entrance of the secret passage to the tree was only a few meters away. With his strength, he could make it in time. Moreover, there was no one guarding the ancestral hall. It was simply a godsend. But when he was halfway there and could clearly see the lines on the trunk, the sacred tree in front of him suddenly lit up. This sudden abnormality startled Li Kailiang and he couldn't help but look up. In the dim night, the branches in front of him were glowing, and among the branches and leaves that were glowing, the gray fruits with clear facial features were swaying in the wind. The rustling sound was like the hideous laughter of these human-faced fruits when they looked at him. What on earth is this? Li Kailiang's eyes were slightly absent-minded when he saw the scene in front of him, and a great fear arose spontaneously, even making him unable to help but step back half a step. When he was absent-minded, a sense of crisis suddenly broke out from his heart. Not good. With his sharp intuition, Li Kailiang dodged in a hurry. Just as he dodged, a root as thick as a rope suddenly emerged from the ground, breaking the blue stone slab underneath into several pieces. Li Kailiang felt a chill in his heart when he saw this. If he had not dodged in time, the root would not have pierced through the bluestone slab, but his body, seeing that the attack missed, Ji Yang thought it was a pity. Just now, he deliberately dispersed the lunar eclipse and strengthened the roots, intending to use it to launch a sneak attack, but he still underestimated the intuition of the blood coagulation realm warrior, and even his hidden roots were dodged. Ji Yang was not discouraged. This time he directly strengthened 3 roots. He didn't believe that Li Kailiang could dodge. As Ji Yang's thoughts dissipated, 2 new roots burst out again under the ground and killed Li Kailiang. After the change of race, Ji Yang's root strength reached a higher level. Seeing 2 more roots, Li Kailiang's heart condensed, but the attack just now also successfully restored his clarity of mind, and he also remembered the purpose of his visit this time. Especially after seeing these roots, Li Kailiang's murderous intent became even stronger. If the Chen family's sacred tree grows up, the family will never have the slightest chance of revenge in the future. Even if 3 roots came together, Li Kailiang still couldn't retreat. With his agile posture and steps, Li Kailiang dodged the strangulation of 2 roots in succession and headed towards Ji Yang's trunk. His eyes were firm and determined. Ji Yang was slightly shocked. Although his roots were strong, they were not as fast as the warriors in the late stage of blood coagulation in terms of sensitivity. But fortunately, he had anticipated the situation in front of him. The 2 roots that Li Kailiang bypassed were not taken back by Ji Yang, but hit the gate of the ancestral hall behind. Boom! The sound of the collapse of the gate of the ancestral hall resounded all around, not to mention the tribesmen patrolling nearby. Even the tribesmen who were a little far away heard the huge noise at this moment. What's going on? It's the sound coming from the ancestral hall. Go and have a look. That the voices of many tribesmen rang out in the tribe. After the great sacrifice to the sacred tree, the ancestral hall was the most important place for the family. It not only contained the ancestral tablets, but also the current family's sacred tree. There could not be any mistakes. Li Kailiang gritted his teeth when he heard the noise outside. He still underestimated the sacred tree. He didn't expect it to be so smart. However, this did not stop his determination to destroy the tree in front of him. Besides, there was only 1 root in front of him, which could never stop him. Facing the strangulation of the last root, Li Kailiang did not dodge this time, but rushed directly. When the root was about to attack his body, Li Kailiang was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and he actually grabbed the last root firmly in his hands with both hands. The huge force coming from his hands almost made Li Kailiang unable to catch it. But as he mobilized the blood and chi of his whole body, he still couldn't get the root in his hand free. Without the obstruction of the last root, Li Kailiang strode forward. At this moment, He was less than half a meter away from Ji Yang's trunk, which was already within reach. Just as he was about to use his feet instead of his hands to kick the not-so-thick sacred tree, a new root suddenly stretched out from under the sacred tree. This root came too suddenly and was too close, so when Li Kailiang reacted, the root had already reached his face. With the speed of this root, if he continued to attack at this moment, he might be able to hit the trunk in front of him. But he would definitely die. Although the opportunity was good, he had to give up. The secret passage behind him was his hope of escape. Stop! Before Li Kailiang, who had dodged, launched a second attack, a loud shout came from behind his ear, followed by a powerful attack coming from behind him. Feeling the danger behind him, Li Kailiang could only continue to dodge. When he dodged the attack and turned around, Chen Qingyu appeared in the ancestral hall. The attack just now was launched by this person. Chen Qingyu and other members of the Chen family came with him. The family members all changed their faces after seeing the chaos in the ancestral hall, but after realizing that it was an enemy attack, they quickly surrounded Li Kailiang. Li Kailiang, who was surrounded, was already in despair. The people who surrounded him included not only Chen Qingyu, who was in the late stage of the blood coagulation realm, but also two other blood coagulation realm warriors. Realizing that he might have missed the last chance to destroy the sacred tree, Li Kailiang regretted it. The passage that seemed to leave him a chance of survival turned out to be the final factor that led to the failure of his plan. Damn it! Li Kailiang howled to the sky. Venting his dissatisfaction, Chen Xingzhen, who hurried over, looked solemn, but after seeing that the sacred tree was safe and sound, Chen Xingzhen finally let go of his worries. If the sacred tree had a mishap this time, how could he report to his dead ancestors and his clansmen? Surrender, Li Kailiang. You have no way out. Looking at Li Kailiang trapped in the center of the crowd, Chen Xingzhen issued a final notice. The only response to Chen Xingzhen was Li Kailiang's disdainful sneer. Kill! Without saying anything else, the clansmen attacked again. With the help of Chen Qingyu, a late-stage blood coagulation warrior, and other family members, Li Kailiang had no chance at all. After just a few rounds, Li Kailiang was seriously injured and could hardly hold on. However, before he died, Li Kailiang suddenly looked at Chen Qingyu and asked, "What kind of fighting skill is this? Why didn't I see you use it before?" Chen Qingyu didn't answer, but used a Taizu Changquan to successfully send him away. Good! Chen Xingzhen was excited when he saw this punch. Strictly speaking, if you want to learn fighting skills, you must be at least in the blood coagulation realm. The blood in the body of the warrior in the body tempering realm is thin, and it is difficult to exert the power of fighting skills. But this does not mean that the tribesmen in the body tempering realm cannot learn it. Even if they can't learn it, they can familiarize themselves with the running route of the fighting skills in advance and prepare for the future. Chapter 54, Aftermath. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, Chen Xingzhen did not expect Chen Qingyu to learn it so quickly. Even though Chen Qingyu had a rather cold personality, he felt a little uncomfortable when he saw Chen Xingzhen's satisfied look. After all, he could learn it so quickly not by himself, but by the sacred tree. Chen Qingyu did not explain. Anyway, he was not going to occupy the top 3 places in the clan. Let the misunderstanding be a misunderstanding. This seems to be Taizu Changquan. Brother Qingyu is really a genius. He learned it in one day. Chen Qingyu could only pretend not to hear the praises of the clan members. After dealing with Li Kailiang, Chen Xingzhen, who was not at ease, carefully checked the sacred tree again. Seeing that the sacred tree was indeed not damaged, he was relieved. Then Chen Xingzhen thought of the secret passage again, and immediately issued an order. Tianjing, you and Qingyu take a few more clansmen into the secret passage to check if there are any loopholes, and by the way, check if there are other Li family members outside the secret passage. Although this secret passage is not a family secret now, it is at least another passage of the family, which cannot be lost and needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. Looking at the destruction of the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen had a trace of regret in his eyes. Knowing that the remaining people of the Li family went to the mass grave mountain, he did not take precautions. Although the probability of such a thing happening is relatively small, he should have considered it at the beginning. After all, it was his carelessness that almost destroyed the family's sacred tree. Fortunately, the sacred tree is still there and has not been damaged. Although he wanted to chase and kill, it is thought that Li Yongcheng and others have already left and will not stay there to wait. And there is still the innate blue wolf in the depths of the mass grave mountain. Chen Xingzhen had to give up and told several people not to chase it too deep. After everything was sorted out, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree in front of him and sighed in his heart. The family is still too weak, but the development of the family is not something that can be done quickly. All big families have been passed down for decades or even hundreds of years before they have a certain scale, not to mention the current Qin family, which does not even have a Xiantian realm warrior. Above, looking at the Qin family members who were cleaning up the mess, Ji Yang finally relaxed in his heart. The situation just now was still quite dangerous. Now he has not fully grown up. If a blood coagulation realm warrior gets close to him, it is very likely that the tree will be destroyed and people will die, and Li Kailiang is still in the late blood coagulation realm. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he strengthened a root again, which barely blocked the attack. Fortunately, Li Kailiang did not fight with his life, otherwise the situation would be different. The strengthening of the 4 roots just now used up 7.5 of Ji Yang's vitality, causing his vitality to fall below 10 points again. In order to maintain his own induction and state, Ji Yang directly transformed all the blood and qi he had reserved before, which made his vitality full again. However, this also gave Ji Yang a new sense of crisis. This time was an accident, but the current strength of the Qin family could not guarantee that there would be no accidents next time. He still needed to become stronger, and he also needed to make the Qin family stronger and have the ability to deal with risks. If it really didn't work, he could only communicate with Chen Xingzhen through his roots. At least from his current perspective, the Chen family still had major flaws in the development of the family. If it goes on like this, it is unknown how long it will take for the family to develop. Originally, Ji Yang didn't want to get too involved in the family's affairs. After all, he just wanted to be a tree. While enjoying the family's sacrifice, it would be nice to occasionally contribute. If he had to do everything himself, he might as well be the patriarch. Although he was a little anxious, he was not in a hurry. Ji Yang was ready to wait until the fruits on the tree were ripe. After Li Kailiang died, Ji Yang also saw a new soul appear in the ancestral hall. This living soul is a replica of Li Kailiang, except that its face is dull and it has no consciousness, which is not much different from other living souls. It's just that its body is more concentrated and in better condition than the many living souls that Ji Yang had transformed in the spirit seat before. Looking at the living soul in front of him, Ji Yang's consciousness moved, and the living soul was quickly absorbed by Ji Yang. This is a new ability that Ji Yang gained after his race changed, so that he no longer needs to use roots as a medium between himself and the living soul. Ji Yang used his magical power to condense the soul and tried to transform it, but then, a prompt suddenly popped up in front of Ji Yang. Already bound to the family. Other living souls except the Chen family cannot be condensed. This prompt made Ji Yang stunned for a moment. Feelings still have such restrictions. How can he organize his own army of living souls? He also hoped to make the Chen family stronger by this. Now it seems that it won't work. Seeing that Li Cailiang's soul was useless, the branches of Ji Yang swayed slightly, creating a breeze. When the breeze blew, Li Cailiang's soul instantly dissipated and turned into a ball of dense yin qi, which was absorbed by Ji Yang's trunk. After absorbing the yin qi, the gray fruit on the tree seemed to grow a little bigger. At this moment, Chen Xingzhen was still waiting for the return of the clan members in the ancestral hall. At the moment when Li Cailiang's soul dissipated, Chen Xingzhen also felt a slightly cool breeze blowing across his face. This made Chen Xingzhen puzzled. After all, he was a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation. How could he feel such a coolness? Chen Xingzhen turned his head and looked at the family's sacred tree in front of him. Only then did he notice the changes in the appearance of the sacred tree, but Chen Xingzhen's face was normal. The sacred tree is changeable, and he has become accustomed to it. Half an hour later, Chen Xingyu and others returned from the secret passage. When they returned, they brought several beasts with them. According to Chen Tianjing, the blue stone outside the secret passage had been moved away, and there were a lot of traces left in the secret passage, but there were very few traces outside the secret passage, and when they passed by, there were several beasts outside the secret passage. Unfortunately, the realm of these beasts was not high, and the strongest one was only in the middle stage of the blood coagulation realm. In addition, these beasts attacked each other, which made it easy for Qinxingyu and others to kill them. After killing the beasts, they checked the surroundings and found no traces of the Li family. Finally, after cleaning up the secret passage, they moved the bluestone back and reinforced it before leaving. After listening to Qin Tianjing's report, Qin Xingzhen carefully checked the beasts that came back from hunting. After smelling a special smell, Qin Xingzhen's eyes became clear. This is unique to the Li family. It seems that these beasts were attracted by Li Kailiang. Unfortunately, there is now a blue wolf in the innate realm deep in the mass grave mountain, and even the beasts outside the secret passage are much less. Even this time can't attract too many beasts, but the family has gained this. Okay, it's late, you go back and rest. As for these beasts, sacrifice them all to the sacred tree. Ji Yang's roots were also discovered by Qin Xingzhen before. This is an ability that the sacred tree has never shown before. I think the sacred tree has consumed a lot this time and is in urgent need of replenishment. Above, Ji Yang nodded silently after hearing this. You are sensible. Chapter 55 Resurrection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This time, 3 ferocious beasts were sacrificed, 2 of which were in the early stage of blood coagulation realm and 1 in the middle stage of blood coagulation realm. If Li Kailiangquan knew better, his time not only did not cause damage to the Qin family, but instead allowed the Qin family to pick up several ferocious beasts for nothing. Who knows if he would have died in peace. The 3 ferocious beasts in the blood coagulation realm increased Ji Yang's energy and blood to 33 points. But his spiritual power only increased by 4 points. Although he had enough energy, blood and spiritual power, Ji Yang could not start a new deduction without enough deduction points, and after tasting the sweetness last time, Ji Yang no longer looked down on single deduction. He had to at least increase the multiple a little, so that he would have a greater chance of obtaining magical powers and combat skills. As everyone left, the ancestral hall became silent again. However, in order to prevent this from happening again, there were 2 more warriors patrolling at night, and they were also equipped with a blood coagulation realm warrior. After the last sacred tree sacrifice, there were 2 more blood coagulation realm warriors in the clan. Together with the clan leader Qin Xingzhen, there were now a total of 6 blood coagulation realm warriors in the clan. It can be considered that it has returned to the scale before the fight with the Li family. On the 7th day of the ginkgo's growth, all the fruits on the tree have lost their previous white color and turned into gray. The facial features on the fruits have become more lifelike, as if their ancestors were still alive. But if a stranger sees this, he just feels extremely weird. Due to Qin Xingzhen's orders in the past 2 days, not many tribesmen came to disturb the sacred tree. However, Qin Tianjing and several blood coagulation realm warriors took advantage of the free time in the evening to visit the ancestral hall twice to remember their ancestors. After all, among the gray fruits on the tree were not only Qin Qingyu's father, but also their family elders. On the night of the 7th day, the gray berries on the tree had not changed much. At this time, Ji Yang was also paying full attention to these gray fruits after soul condensation, wanting to see what these gray fruits would look like when mature. However, what puzzled Ji Yang was that although he had already felt that these gray fruits were getting closer to maturity, he did not see the faces on these gray fruits open their eyes. Under Ji Yang's gaze, another half-hour passed like this, until the moon hung high and Ji Yang began to absorb the moonlight and yin energy. These gray fruits finally took on new changes. Under the moonlight, these gray fruits hanging on the branches slowly began to shake. As the gray fruits shook, their eyes gradually opened. Ji Yang couldn't take his eyes off, carefully watching the changes in these gray fruits. This was the first time he saw such a magical scene. After a brief sway, a gray fruit located above the branch suddenly fell towards the ground. But just when the gray fruit was about to fall to the ground, a strong yin energy suddenly burst out from the gray fruit. As the gray fruit disappeared, a gray old man suddenly appeared in the ancestral hall. And his face was consistent with the face on the gray fruit before. Is this a living soul? Above, Ji Yang looked at these ripe gray fruits with doubts in his eyes. If he still has a living soul, what's the point of condensing his soul? However, when Ji Yang observed carefully, he discovered differences in this living soul. First, the untransformed living soul was in tatters and the whole body was gray-white. Now the living soul has a solid body and the whole body is gray. Secondly, he seemed to sense something different from other souls in this fallen soul, but he couldn't remember it for a while. When Ji Yang was thinking carefully, other gray fruits on the branches could no longer hold back and fell to the ground like raindrops. Before each gray fruit falls to the ground, it has turned into a new figure and appeared in the ancestral hall. In just a few seconds, the ancestral hall was already filled with countless gray figures, but these figures could not be seen by others at this moment. Ji Yang, who had been observing these living souls, soon brightened up. He knew what was different. Wisdom. These living souls were different from other living souls in their sluggishness. They seemed more agile, and Ji Yang even saw thinking in their eyes. Could it be? After a brief stagnation after landing, the old man who landed first suddenly put his hand on his forehead. A trace of thinking appeared in his eyebrows, and he couldn't help but uttered the three major philosophical questions of life. Who I am? Where am I? What do I want to do? That the other living souls were also frowning and thinking hard, searching for the memories that had long been dusted in their minds. After a brief moment of contemplation, a bright light suddenly burst out in the old man's eyes. He remembered, his name is Chen Changming, the 11th generation patriarch of the Chen family. But looking at the unfamiliar environment around him, Chen Changming once again had a doubt in his mind. If he remembered correctly, he fought with the enemy when he moved his family for the last time, and then died. Why is he alive again now? Soon, Chen Changming also noticed his current changes, as well as the strange figures around him. At this moment, other living souls also expressed confusion. Ah, who am I? I remember that I died too, in a battle with a vicious beast. I seem to have died too, on the way to my family's migration. Why can't I touch things? What's wrong with me? What happened? Doubtful sounds echoed through the ancestral hall, but the tribesmen outside did not notice it at all. Only Ji Yang, who was above, could hear everyone's doubtful sounds. At this moment, Ji Yang also knew the effect of his soul condensation. This magical power seemed to be able to condense those dead souls and restore their memories before they died. Unfortunately, it was bound to the family, so only the people of the Chen family could enjoy it. However, even after condensation, they still could not touch other things, and could not even be seen. What can such souls be used for? Ji Yang ignored the many souls below, but thought about the effects that these souls could bring after they were restored. Xingba, are you Xingba? Chen Changming looked at a very familiar soul not far away. His expression suddenly became excited, and he could not help but approach the soul. On the way, Chen Changming noticed a few familiar souls. You are my son Xinghe. Xingzhan. Hearing Chen Changming's shout, the memories in the minds of the other three souls gradually became clear. When the three saw Chen Changming, they were also very excited and shouted. Father. The three people who were closer were even more excited when they saw each other's faces. Big brother. Second brother. Third brother. Eldest brother. Cousin. Is that you? Dad, it's so good to see you. Third uncle, are you dead too? Nephew, you are here too. The many Chen family members who had recovered their memories were excited to communicate with each other after seeing familiar faces all around. They were either expressing their nostalgia, or expressing the words they had never said before, or expressing the joy of not seeing each other for a long time. For a moment, the whole ancestral hall was in chaos. Chapter 56 Restoring the Family's Glory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Above, Ji Yang looked at the scene in front of him and pretended not to hear it. These cumbersome family relationships gave him a headache, so he let them sort it out by themselves, and it would not be too late to talk about it after they regained consciousness. These revived Chen family members were not living beings, but transformed living souls. He should be able to communicate with everyone, which would be much more convenient. As time passed, the continuous communication of many living souls below, everyone soon woke up from the confusion just now, especially after seeing the family spirit tablets in the ancestral hall room. Everyone sighed. It turned out that they were really dead. Half an hour later, the voices in the crowd gradually became weak, and everyone was thinking about what they should do now. At this time, Chen Changming also noticed the fluorescent divine tree on the side. The moment he saw the divine tree, his memory of the 7 days in his mind slowly awakened. In his memory, he saw his state as a fruit, saw the worship of the clan members below, and saw the current situation of the family. Chen Changming, who understood all this, immediately floated above the ancestral hall and shouted, "Everyone, please be quiet for a while." Many of the clan members who had recovered their memories also recognized the former clan leader, but there were also a few who did not know Chen Changming, including the 3 clan members who died in the struggle with the Li family not long ago, but from the conversations of other family elders, the 3 of them also understood the identities of everyone. The Chen Changming in front of them seemed to be the clan leader's father. That is, their ancestor. "Everyone, now we are resurrected and reunited in the family ancestral hall. All this is not accidental, but the guidance given to my Chen family by the sacred tree." After saying that, everyone also focused their eyes on Ji Yang. The sacred tree was the totem of the family in the past. Several people present were even older than the current clan leader Chen Xingzhen, and had seen the glory of the family's sacred tree in the past. Although the sacred tree is damaged now, it is not as good as 1% of the family's sacred tree back then. Knowing that it was the mighty power of the sacred tree that allowed them to return to the world, everyone present was in awe and bowed down seriously. Above, Ji Yang nodded slightly in his heart when he saw Chen Changming's actions. As expected of the former clan leader, he was able to grasp the key points in the current situation. When the clan members below finished their worship, Chen Changming spoke again. "Are there any clan members who died in the past 10 years? After the words fell, several people stood up from the crowd, including the 3 who had just died. In the oral accounts of these people, the situation of the family in the past few decades was also clear to everyone. Many people sighed in their hearts after hearing that so many things had happened to the family after their death. After hearing about the struggle with the Li family not long ago, everyone present was even more nervous, but then after hearing that the sacred tree showed its power and saved the family, everyone was even more grateful and knelt down to worship. Although they are dead, there are still their descendants in the family, and these descendants have the blood and inheritance of the family." After understanding the situation, Chen Changming continued. "Everyone has heard about the current situation of the family. Now the family is declining and the sacred tree is just born. The family still needs our help. Even if we die, our consciousness is still there. We can still make the family prosperous. We can't do it, but our descendants can. Revitalize the glory of the family, it is our duty." After hearing this, many clansmen below also had blood on their faces. The dead have come back again, watching the family prosper step by step, watching every step of the family's descendants grow up. How can they refuse? "Patriarch, I want to see my son first." A figure suddenly stood up in the crowd and begged. "You are Tianshun, go." Chen Changming said softly. Although he had died for a long time, he remembered the young generation of the family very clearly. Tianshun was a child with good talent, but unfortunately, he died young and sacrificed for the family. Fortunately, he is alive now, although he only lived half of his life. After getting Chen Changming's consent, Chen Tianshun's figure quickly floated out of the ancestral hall. Although he was still a little uncomfortable with this way of walking, it felt good. It was much faster than when he was alive, and it could penetrate the wall. Others also thought of the younger generations of the clan at this moment, and asked to go and see them. Chen Changming did not stop them. He understood the thoughts of these clansmen. In fact, even he wanted to see his 4th brother, the current clan leader, Chen Xingzhen. Soon, the clansmen all scattered from the ancestral hall, leaving him alone in the ancestral hall. Although Chen Changming also wanted to go and see, he was not in a hurry to leave, but looked at the sacred tree, and then respectfully worshipped. "Today, I am able to see my family members again." Chen Changming, the 11th generation clan leader of the Chen family, here to thank the sacred tree. Ji Yang did not answer, but a wisp of the yin qi just absorbed by the trunk dissipated and floated into Chen Changming's body. As this ray of yin qi entered his body, Chen Changming's eyes lit up, and he felt that his body seemed to be more solid. This made Chen Changming feel a little more awed. Although the family's sacred tree looked far less powerful than it was back then, and could even be said to be extremely weak, the power of the sacred tree now seemed to be better than that of the family's sacred tree in the past. At least, the sacred tree back then could not do this. Chen Changming, who received the response from the sacred tree, felt a little more excited. The response from the sacred tree meant that his previous thoughts were not wrong. The sacred tree resurrected them to make the family stronger. After Chen Changming thanked him again, he turned around and left the ancestral hall. He wanted to see the current situation of the family and also wanted to see Chen Xingzhen. After he left, the ancestral hall returned to silence again. Looking at the current situation, Ji Yang was thoughtful, but did not intervene. Since these retransformed souls have memories and intelligence, it may be better than him doing it himself. Haven't you heard that an old man in the family is like a treasure? Besides, they are all members of the clan who have died once, so they should have more experience in developing the family. I just don't know how to make them communicate, and I don't seem to have learned this magical power at present, which makes Ji Yang a little distressed. But then when Ji Yang's roots buried underground sensed the situation not far away, he was shocked. I saw a soul that had just left the ancestral hall, after seeing his younger generation who had fallen asleep, actually threw himself into his body in the form of a soul. Ji Yang wanted to stop it, but then he heard a whisper from the sleeping tribesman. Dad? Why are you here? Did I dream about you? Ji Yang fell into deep thought watching this scene. He didn't expect that the transformed soul still had this ability. It seemed that he didn't need to take action. Chapter 57 Child, I am your grandfather. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After one living soul discovered this ability, other living souls also quickly discovered this and entered the dream world of their descendants. This night, the Chen family was destined to be unrest. Countless sleeping tribesmen murmured in their sleep. In the clan leader's bedroom, other clan members have already rested, but as the clan leader, Chen Xingzhen is still thinking about the future development direction of the clan and what the clan members need for winter. When it comes to the family, he can't be careless in the slightest. It was getting late, and Chen Xingzhen couldn't hide the look of exhaustion on his face after a busy day. Although the blood coagulation realm warrior has sufficient qi and blood in his body, he is old after all, and the gradually weakening qi and blood in his body makes it impossible for him to return to the state of his youth. Chen Xingzhen stopped thinking and lay down to rest. In his sleep, a figure loomed in front of him, which made Chen Xingzhen frown slightly in his sleep, but after clearing the fog and seeing the figure's face clearly, Chen Xing was shocked and shouted. Dad? Is that you? Looking at the familiar face in front of him, Chen Xingzhen, who was over 60 years old, looked very excited. This appearance is even clearer than the ginkgo on the sacred tree, just like what it looked like when my father was still alive. Xingzhen, you have suffered a lot these years. Chen Changming's face was soft, and he looked at the old man in front of him who was now about the same age as himself, with a hint of heartache in his eyes, but he can't be blamed for this. The family's migration back then was really difficult. Even though he was the clan leader, he couldn't stay out of it, but after all, a trace of family blood was preserved, which led to today's resurrection. It's not bitter, Dad. How are you doing down there? Chen Changming was stunned for a moment when he heard this question. He had no memory of the time from his death back then to his awakening with the power of the sacred tree today, and he didn't know how he was living. However, in order to comfort Chen Xingzhen, Chen Changming still smiled and replied. Dad is having a good time down there. That's good, that's good. After hearing this, Chen Xingzhen murmured softly and nodded repeatedly. As long as his father's life down there was not too bad, he could rest assured. By the way, your eldest brother and second brother will come over to see you later, so you can catch up on old times. Chen Xingzhen was stunned when he heard this. Brother, are they here too? Although there was expectation in his words, Chen Xingzhen's face was a little ugly. Today, his father and the others came to see him. Could it be that they came to take him with them this time? Although he is older, his lifespan is too short, right? Things in the clan haven't been settled yet, and the next clan leader hasn't been elected yet. Is he going to leave like this? Seeing the change in Chen Xingzhen's expression, Chen Changming hurriedly patted his head. He didn't blame Chen Xingzhen for thinking, but he forgot to explain clearly. Feeling that his figure was getting weaker and weaker in the dream, Chen Changming also hurriedly explained what happened today. Xingzhen, listen to me. That's what happened. Now the souls of the tribe are resurrected solely by the power of the sacred tree. But Qingyu, you can reach your current state and become the first person in the clan. As a father, I am really happy for you. Qinqingyu, who was praised by his father, also showed a hint of pride in his eyes, as if he had returned to the original days. However, after hearing that the souls of the dead tribesmen were resurrected, Qinqingyu still had a trace of confusion in his eyes, even if Qin Tianshan told him personally. Just when Qinqingyu wanted to ask about other things, the figure in front of her suddenly disappeared. Tianjing, tell me quickly, which room does my grandson live in? As a father, I have to go and see for myself. In his dream, Chen Xinghe asked excitedly after hearing the news. After all, when he died, Chen Tianjing was not yet married and naturally had no children. This became his regret when he died. Unexpectedly, he was able to get married today but regretted it in his heart. This made him so excited. After getting the answer, Chen Xinghe decisively exited the dreamland. After moving around several rooms, he finally saw Chen Xinghe in his sleep. Looking at this young man who looked somewhat similar to himself in his sleep, Chen Xinghe looked pleased. Chen Xinghe, good name. He looks handsome too. Overjoyed, Chen Xinghe no longer hesitated and directly entered his dream with his soul. In the dream world, the two figures gradually appeared in a void. Chen Xinghe looked at the strange but familiar young man in front of him, and immediately called softly. Child, I am your grandpa. Chen Xinghe in the dream looked confused and curious at first, but after hearing this, a trace of anger appeared on Chen Xinghe's slightly immature face, and he sneered. I'm still your dad. After saying that, Chen Xinghe swung his fist, directly shattering the figure in front of him, and fell into a deep sleep again. Chen Xinghe, who was kicked out, looked confused at this moment. Why was this situation different from what he imagined? How does Tianjing teach children? He must go and talk tomorrow night. As for today, he felt that he could no longer enter the dream world. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang silently sensed the situation in the clan and soon discovered this. Although these dead tribesmen can fall into dreams, there seem to be many restrictions. For example, the time to fall asleep will not last too long, and if they encounter resistance from the sleeping people, they will quickly escape from the dream. And every time after falling into a dream, the yin energy of these dead tribesmen will also be reduced. Among them, Chen Tianshan consumed yin qi the fastest and stayed for the shortest time. It seems to be because of the realm. Rich blood can also dissipate yin qi. In this way, the attack power of these living souls is not strong. No, it can be said that they have no attack power, but Ji Yang then thought of his other magical power. Armor. I don't know if this magical power can allow living souls to contact living warriors. If it can, there is a lot of potential. But this armor also consumes his vitality. Now he has little vitality and may not be able to support it. Let's talk about it later. In addition, Ji Yang thinks that the greatest role of these resurrected souls in the family may not be used for fighting, but to use the experience and knowledge in their minds to make the Qin family stronger. In the family, many living souls have long been passively separated from the dream, but they are still very curious about the current family after awakening their consciousness. At this moment, they are wandering around the family, like lingering ghosts. It's a good thing that the clan members can't see it, otherwise there will be news of ghosts in the family tomorrow. But with the dream tonight, the family may not be safe tomorrow. Time flies, and the sky becomes brighter. Accompanied by the crowing of the spirit-tailed chicken, the first ray of sunlight in the morning slowly rises. As the sun shines, the living souls still wandering in the family feel that a raging fire is burning their bodies. It turns out that the strong yin energy in the body also dissipates quickly under the sun, which is much faster than when dreaming. Chapter 58 Family Advice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The tribesmen who noticed something was wrong were in panic. They had just woken up, and even in this state, they didn't want to die quickly. The sacred tree. Go back to the ancestral hall. A silent cry resounded throughout the family. It was Qin Changming who realized something was wrong and reacted. For a moment, all the wandering souls quickly drifted into the ancestral hall. When everyone arrived at the ancestral hall, the yin qi that was just dissipating rapidly gradually slowed down, until all the tribesmen took shelter under the shade of the tree. The yin qi that had been dissipating completely stopped. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang felt the yin qi disappearing from everyone. It seemed that these dead tribesmen could not appear in the daytime, but his current shade was not enough to block the sunlight for all the tribesmen. When the sun was high in the sky, where should these souls go? While Ji Yang was thinking, many tribesmen got closer and closer, and even crowded around Ji Yang's trunk. At this time, a tribe member was suddenly pushed towards the tree trunk and then disappeared. The other tribe members were surprised to see this, but they didn't care too much and flew towards the tree trunk. Could the sacred tree still harm them? Ji Yang looked at the souls pouring into the tree trunk and was puzzled. When Ji Yang carefully checked his consciousness, he found that most of the absorbed yin qi had gathered in his trunk. These yin qi merged into his trunk, creating a space that looked like the netherworld. It was gray inside, but the space was not small, just enough to accommodate these dead family members. It seems that this is also a new ability after his race changed, which saved him a lot of effort. Otherwise he really didn't know where to hide these souls. As the sun rose, the family gradually regained vitality, and the tribe members began to get busy again. However, many tribe members looked hesitant. After recalling what happened last night, many tribe members had a trace of doubt on their faces. That face was too real, so they couldn't tell whether it was a dream or a real thing. Qinghe, my grandpa seemed to come to see me last night, Chen Qingmeng said to Qinghe on the side, carrying a hoe on his shoulder. Dreams are all fake. Your grandpa will come again tomorrow, just give him 2 punches. Qinghe said indifferently. Qingmeng thought about it and nodded. Okay. In the room, Qinghe frowned. What happened in his dream last night made him feel a little absurd, but the faces of his father and eldest brother appeared clearly in his mind. He remembered that when his father was about to say something, the dream dissipated. This made it difficult for him to tell whether what happened last night was caused by his longing for the white fruit on the sacred tree a few days ago. After a while, Qinghe no longer struggled. Whether it was true or not, he just had to ask the sacred tree. Soon, Qinghe arrived at the ancestral hall. When he pushed open the door of the ancestral hall and saw the sacred tree, his expression became more complicated, because the many white fruits that were still hanging on the sacred tree yesterday have now disappeared, but the sacred tree still maintains its previous appearance. This surprised and delighted Qinghe. Could it be that what happened last night was not a dream? Brother, did you dream of anything last night? Yes, I dreamed of my father. He told me to practice martial arts well and reach the blood coagulation realm as soon as possible. That the conversations of the clan members outside made Qinghe more certain that what happened in his dream last night was not false. If this is true, he has to make some preparations tonight. He was still worried that he could not make the family stronger by himself, but if he had the help of his father and several brothers, he felt that the family's future would be far-reaching. However, this matter is of great importance, and the news must be blocked and not let outsiders know. In the tree trunk, Qingmeng also told the clan members so. The resurrection of the dead, although only the soul, but if it spreads out, the family will inevitably suffer a disaster. The current family sacred tree is not something that the Qin family can keep. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang sensed the situation in the trunk and nodded in affirmation. However, he could feel that these souls that he had transformed were actually under his control. When necessary, Ji Yang could even force control, but this was not in Ji Yang's plan. He just wanted to be a tree now. Let the 2 clan leaders worry about the family's affairs. Time quickly fell into the night. As soon as the night fell, Qinghe had already rested, and so did the other people in the clan. Last night's dream and today's conversation with the clan members made them realize that something was wrong, so they wanted to confirm it tonight. Dad, in the dream, Qinghe saw Qingmeng again, his expression slightly excited. However, this time Qingmeng's mood was not much more stable, and he spoke directly. Qinghe, time is running out, I can't stay too long. This time the sacred tree revived the tribe members in order to strengthen the family. Although the family is stable now, there are still many shortcomings. Hearing this, Qinghe looked guilty. He had been the patriarch for so many years, but he still failed to make the family flourish, and even almost got exterminated. This was all his own fault. Seeing this, Qingmeng comforted. It's not your fault. It's my fault that I died too early and couldn't teach you much. I said, remember. Okay. Qinghe nodded. After half an incense stick, Qinghe looked at Qingmeng's gradually fading figure, and nodded again. I wrote it down. Qingmeng smiled and nodded. These suggestions about the family are also discussed by me. your eldest brother and several other clan members, but the family's current affairs are unpredictable, and some of the suggestions may not be accurate. You can listen, but not all of them. Remember, you are the patriarch of the family now. Dad, I know, that when the voice fell, Chen Changming's figure disappeared again, and this time Chen Xingzhen was no longer hesitant, but his eyes were very bright. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang also seriously thought about the decisions made by Chen Changming and others during the day, and nodded again in his heart. As expected of the previous patriarch, his insights on the development of the family far surpassed Chen Xingzhen. With the current Chen family, if they want to develop rapidly, they really need to make many prepared decisions. At present, these few are indeed suitable for the current Chen family, and he can also benefit from them. Under the night, Ji Yang's branches emit a faint fluorescence. Without the consumption of ginkgo, he can now get 2.4 vitality every night. If there is enough time, perhaps he will become stronger in a short time. Not long after, the souls that left the ancestral hall returned to the ancestral hall. When they saw the fluorescent sacred tree, they were unconsciously attracted by Ji Yang, and then sat cross-legged on the ground, closed their eyes and concentrated their breath, absorbing the strands of yin qi emitted from Ji Yang's trunk. Every time they absorbed a strand of yin qi, their bodies became more solid. Seeing this, Chen Changming, who had returned, showed a trace of excitement in his eyes. He had long discovered that although they were resurrected now, they would consume a certain amount of yin qi every day. If they could not replenish it, their lifespan might not be long. But now it seems that there is no need to worry about this problem. If they can become stronger in their current state, then in the future of the family, can they fight in person? Chen Changming was excited. With the sacred tree, the family will surely prosper, and perhaps even exceed the heyday of the family. Window_tabula equals window_tabula dot push, mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, tabula, below, article, thumbnail, 300x250, placement, below article thumbnail, 300 by 250, target _type, mix. Chapter 59 Family Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the second day, the Chen family warriors gathered in the ancestral hall again to hold a family meeting. Now the Chen family members are smiling, and there is a hint of confidence in their eyes, which is a scene that has never been seen in the previous battle with the Li family. Chen Xingzhen stood at the top, looking at the radiant and vigorous members below, and there was a hint of smile on his face. The family is thriving, and everything is moving in a good direction. He is very pleased, but this is not enough. The family needs to become stronger. This is also the reason for holding a family meeting today. Below, many family members are whispering, and there is a hint of surprise in their eyes. It's just because the elders of the family came into the dream again last night. One time may be accidental, and the other 2 times are inevitable, and today's family meeting has made the family members look forward to it. Qinghe, my grandfather came to see me again last night and taught me a lot of things. Chen Qingming said happily in the crowd. Chen Qinghe, who was standing aside, was not in a very good mood, because his father had scolded him yesterday and told him that his grandfather would come to see him in the evening and asked him to be obedient. Although the old man in the dream looked familiar, he did not sleep well because he was too enthusiastic. Above, seeing that all the clansmen had arrived, Chen Xingzhen raised his hand slightly and signaled everyone to be quiet. When all the clansmen focused their eyes on Chen Xingzhen spoke. I believe that many clansmen have felt it in the past 2 days. I can tell you clearly that what happened in the dream is not false. Some of my Chen family's ancestors have indeed resurrected with the help of the sacred tree. As soon as these words came out, a wave of waves was set off in the crowd. Although they had guessed in their hearts, now these words came from the clan leader himself. How could they not be excited? The dead ancestor was resurrected, which was too bizarre. Among the shocked clansmen, there were also several clansmen who remained calm. Among them were the blood coagulation warriors of several Qinqinyu families, who had already known about this. After the voices in the crowd quieted down, Chen Xingzhen said solemnly, "This matter concerns the survival of the family. I hope that all the clansmen present can keep it secret and not tell anyone except themselves. In order to keep the secret, everyone present must swear to the sacred tree and must not break it, otherwise the sacred tree will punish them." Hearing this, many clansmen began to swear to the sacred tree that they would never disclose the matter. Chen Xingzhen was relieved to see this. In fact, he also hesitated whether to tell the clansmen about this matter, but after some consideration, he still chose to tell it. After all, even if he didn't say it, the clansmen would definitely have doubts if they had met their ancestors in dreams for a long time. Moreover, the people present now are all the core strength of the family, and they have shared hardships with the family, and they will definitely be the pillars of the family in the future. The people of the family must be united, so that the family can be stronger. In addition to the clansmen outside, his father will also take corresponding measures. Now that they have sworn by the sacred tree, the news will not be leaked out, and will only be spread among the clan. Moreover, this matter is too mysterious. Even if it is spread out, others may not believe it. He heard from his father that even in the heyday of the family, this situation had never been encountered. It is precisely because of this that we must be more careful, otherwise once it is leaked, the family will face a devastating blow, unless the family is already strong enough. After announcing this, Chen Xingzhen spoke again. Considering the development of the family, I have discussed with several blood coagulation warriors in the family and decided as follows. First, all clan members who have been promoted to the blood coagulation realm can become clan elders and enjoy special treatment. Under the clan elders, there are positions for clan deacons and elite clan members. If they have outstanding performance, they can be blessed by the sacred tree. Second, considering the shortage of manpower in the family, it is decided to recruit family slaves outside. The family warriors only need to concentrate on practicing martial arts, improve their realm, and make monthly assessments. Third, all those who are 16 years old in the family must get married. After several decisions were made, many clan members looked excited. Whether it was the special treatment of the clan elders or the blessing of the sacred tree, it was very attractive to them. Even Chen Xinghe was happy when he heard that he didn't need to grow blood rice, but when he heard the third point, his expression was stunned. If he remembered correctly, he was already 14 this year, right? Doesn't that mean he only has 2 years? As the clan members left, the family meeting ended quickly. Several blood coagulation warriors in the clan had already arranged their respective tasks before the family meeting. In the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree again and prayed sincerely. After seeing these decisions, he was a little worried, such as whether these new decisions would be too abrupt. There are not many warriors in the clan now, and there are only a few blood coagulation warriors. However, after hearing his father's explanation, Chen Xingzhen no longer struggled. Every family has its own rules, and every clan has its own rules. Without rules, there will be no order. Only better treatment can give clan members the motivation to improve their realm. As for the position of clan elders, when the clan becomes stronger, there will naturally be higher requirements. According to his father, the family is weak now, and the core of a strong family is the warriors. There are too few warriors in the family now, and even planting blood rice requires the warriors in the clan to do it themselves, which greatly delays the time for the clan members to practice martial arts. You should know that the younger you are, the more suitable it is for tempering the body. If you are too old, it will be more difficult these days, because they are too busy. No one in the family has learned the Taizu Changquan fighting skill. In addition, there is the family population. The family is now sparsely populated. There are only a dozen young people like Chen Xinghe in the family. Among them, there are those with poor roots and may never reach the blood coagulation stage, and because the family often fought with the Li family before, the number of newborns has also slowed down a lot. In the long run, it will be difficult for the family to develop. Sufficient population is the key to developing the family. Even the once prosperous Chen family has never fallen behind in this regard. Logically speaking, with the current family's economy, it is not enough to recruit domestic slaves. After all, this cold winter, the family has not even prepared food for its own family members. However, after annexing the Li family's hunting range in the Mass Grave Mountain, the family hunting will definitely get better results. The focus of the family in the future must also be on family hunting. Compared with the many small villages near the Mass Burial Mountain, the several blood coagulation warriors in the clan are the clan's current confidence. After this year, the situation will be much better next year. By then, with the family's fertile land, there is no need to worry about food problems, and the output of blood rice will increase a lot. Unfortunately, there is still a blue wolf in the innate realm in the mass burial mountain, and there is also a Lu family next to it. If the entire mass burial mountain can be taken down, the strength of the clan will increase a lot, but it's too early to think about this now. Lu family. This family is like a sleeping tiger, and it may show its sharp fangs. At some point, at present, the family development needs to be stable. P.S. I'll take it slowly. Chapter 60 Recruiting Domestic Slaves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a small market at the foot of the mass burial mountain, many people wearing rough linen or animal skins are working hard to sell the things on their stalls. They are all villagers from small villages around the mass burial mountain. They come here every once in a while to sell the extra things in their homes in exchange for other things they need. Among them, there are various beast furs, dried meat and some homemade iron weapons. However, these weapons are not exquisite and can only play some basic functions, and this market does not accept money, only barter. This market gathers more than a dozen small villages nearby, which have always been under the jurisdiction of the Qin family. If you want to sell here, you have to pay 1/10 of the value of the things sold by the Qin family. Although it is not much, it is also a considerable wealth when accumulated. Although many people are dissatisfied, considering safety and convenience, many villagers can only swallow their anger, not to mention that after the Qin family eliminated the Li family, they are now in the limelight, and there are several blood coagulation warriors in the family, so they dare not complain. However, the struggle between the two families in the burial mountain has now become a gossip among many villagers. I thought the market here would change its owner, but I didn't expect that the Qin family would win in the end. Many people who set up stalls sighed and were curious about the process, but these were too far away from them, so they thought about how to spend this winter. Hey, have you heard? The Qin family is recruiting domestic slaves recently. A vendor suddenly said, and this also set off a wave of waves in the crowd. Everyone asked whether this was true or false. Of course it's true. After hearing this, the vendors wanted to inquire more carefully. After all, they were just nearby villagers, and there was no warrior in the village. If they accidentally encountered a ferocious beast entering the village would most likely be destroyed. Although the status of a domestic slave is low, the Qin family is now a big family in the burial mountain. If you can become a domestic slave of the Qin family, your life will be much better. At this time, a strong vendor said disdainfully. Humph, becoming a domestic slave means being governed by others for a lifetime. How can you have the freedom you have now? I am Tian Meng. I can hunt in the mountains and farm in the mountains. I have plenty of strength. Why do I need to be a domestic slave? His Qin family is too much of a scorn for me. Other vendors nodded slightly after hearing this. Indeed, they have some skills. Since they can make a living, why do they need to become domestic slaves? They are inferior to others for nothing, but some vendors looked at the many dried meats on the stall in front of Tian Meng with envy. This person is naturally strong and has learned hunting skills from an old hunter in the village. Now he is also a well-known figure in the nearby villages. It is said that he escaped from the mouth of a fierce beast in the tempering realm when he entered the mountains last time. With such strength, they naturally disdain the status of a house slave. On the other hand, they are weak and can only maintain basic food and clothing, and they have no great skills. This may not be a bad place for the Qin family's house slaves. I also heard that the conditions given by the Qin family to recruit house slaves this time are very good. It is said that if you become a house slave, you can receive 2 kilograms of blood rice and 1 kilogram of fresh beast meat every month. If you make a great contribution to the family, you can also teach the house slaves the method of tempering the body. After hearing these benefits, the people who were originally quite complaining suddenly brightened their eyes. Blood rice is precious. Even if you are not a warrior, you can strengthen your physique after eating it. There are not many good fields near the mass grave that can grow blood rice, and there are even fewer small villages like theirs. In addition to blood rice, there is also fresh beast meat. These 2 points are not mentioned for the time being, and the last method of tempering the body makes many people excited. Although they are villagers, they also yearn for warriors, but unfortunately not everyone is qualified to practice martial arts. First, there is no way to temper the body, so they can't get started. Second, the consumption of warriors is quite large, which they can't afford. if they can really become warriors, then being a house slave doesn't seem to matter. While everyone was still thinking about the pros and cons, Tian Meng on the side had already stood up and packed up the things to sell. The vendor who knew him saw this and had a hint of surprise in his eyes, and asked. Tian Meng, you don't want to set up a stall? Set up a stall? I, Tian Meng, can hunt in the mountains and farm in the mountains. I have plenty of strength. I, Tian Meng, will be the head of this slave family. No one can compete with me. After saying that, Tian Meng had packed up his things and stood up to leave. The others who heard this were all stunned, but then everyone quickly reacted and packed up their stalls and left. Even people like Tian Meng were tempted by it, so what were they still hesitating about? This opportunity must not be missed. Besides, it is not a simple matter to become a house slave. I heard that the Chen family has a corresponding assessment. As the news spread, many villages around the Mass Grave Mountain soon knew about it. The next day, Chen Tianjing led several clansmen to walk out of the family. Not far from the Chen family, a piece of open space had been cleared, which was prepared for the recruitment of domestic slaves this time, and he was responsible for the recruitment of domestic slaves this time, although he knew it before Chen Xingzhen issued the order, but thinking of the limited food in the family now. Plus there were still many clansmen in the family, Chen Tianjing sighed in his heart and worried about the future of the family, and when he walked out of the family, the oncoming flow of people made Chen Tianjing's eyes dull for a moment. The dark mass in front of him was actually more than 100 people. It is even similar to the number of people in the Chen family today. However, unlike the people in the family, most of them are in ragged clothes, pale and thin, and look malnourished. But he has seen this situation many times and doesn't care. Without the family as a harbor, it is not easy to survive in this mass grave mountain by relying on one's own strength, not to mention that there are no warriors present. Facing the gazes of many people, Chen Tianjing slowly walked towards the heights, and several family warriors beside him also raised their chests and heads. The sense of family honor instantly rose to the top. I believe that everyone came here this time for my Chen family to recruit slaves. I believe that everyone has understood the specific situation, but I reiterate it again. After Chen Tianjing finished talking about the treatment of slaves, many people looked excited. This time it was not a rumor, but it was said by the people of the Chen family themselves, and it was highly credible. But then Chen Tianjing's words poured a basin of cold water on everyone again. This time, my Chen family will only recruit 20 servants. Anyone who does not meet the requirements will leave on their own. I hope you can abide by the rules. What? Only 20 people? That's too few. That's right. Someone in the crowd expressed dissatisfaction. Chen Tianjing snorted coldly, and the aura of a blood coagulation warrior emanated. As Chen Tianjing threw a punch to the side, a millstone-sized stone instantly broke into pieces.